recording. Thank you. Sign in. Again. Oh, come on. Intra code. Like there's state secrets here in Autodesk Forma or something that they gotta keep top secret. All right. Although I guess technically if this was a real project, it would get started. No, just remind me later. Come on. Two-step authentication. Okay, sorry. So this is another way of thinking about it. It can be an alternative CAD mapper. Does more stuff. It's supposed to sort of work right into giving you stuff for Revit. It's Autodesk. So come on in, get set up. I'm just showing them CAD mapper to get some of the CAD information downtown. Now I'm going to show them Forma, Autodesk Forma. Have you been on Forma at all?
I haven't.
Okay, so I'm just going to create a new site. Well, let's create a site for us here. 231. Why do I have all these sites? I said create a new site. So wants us to select the one that exists. I just don't want to do that. I just want to create a new one. Let's see. Let me just see how I can clean this up a little bit. Of course. Home. Let's see. Yeah, okay. Why I don't know why we have all of these things here. 201 South. I know what these are. Utah Parlor. I don't know what this stuff is. Why is this such a pain? I don't understand. Here, I'll just do this. I'll use this one. And I'm not sure. Create new site. Like what? Okay, great. I don't know why that was so hard. What was it? 321 South or 231? I can't remember offhand. 231 South. Man, got to remember that. Someone asked me where the site is. It'd be like 231 South Las Vegas Boulevard. Yeah, of course. And so you can see that it already has similar information. You can say select the site area. I'm just going to zoom out a little further than what we need, confirm the map area. Try this. Let's see what happens. But what we can do is it can draw from a database of a number of free and paid resources that you can then load in here in the web interface. You'll just give it a second, I guess, to.
Does it do the same thing as the architect map only does it?
It can, but you see, it has all of these sorts of libraries. So we can say add the open source, open city model, OSM buildings, USA structures.
That's why
Yeah, sometimes it does that. Yeah. Yeah, it can be messy information, that's for sure. Let's see, package free. Okay, I'm gonna try OSM roads. Yeah, order. I mean, just do it. Come on. How is this difficult? The package starter pack. Go ahead and order that. We can turn these on and off and figure out which ones are more complete or less complete or more useful or less useful. I'm just waiting on these stupid things to get out of the way here. There we go. Open city model. Okay, thank you. Okay, there we are. Order. So we're basically getting a catalog of data that we're starting to load into the model. I'll try the structures. It says it's free. Let's see if we have any kind of complete understanding that looks fairly accurate. If so, we can use that rather than doing it from the CAD mapper. Let's see here. All right, that's good for now. Yes. Okay. So you can see we probably have some redundancies here because we have several of these things on all at the same time. But it looks like we have buildings and roads. We can get this out as an OBJ file, I believe. You can bring that directly into Revit or Rhino or SketchUp. What's interesting about this is that you can actually, sometimes cities actually have this stuff inputs and other times not. You have to input it yourself, but you can actually go through and take all of these massings and begin to assign zoning usages for them. So you could begin to understand what the capacity of the neighborhood is, or begin to understand how much building stock you have, um, broken down square footages by zoning use. And then if the massings are correct, it also can load in weather data, and then it uses computational fluid dynamics. You can do wind simulations. You can do wind rows. You can do solar analysis, looking at solar radiation averages over specific periods of time. So let's say in the winter versus the summer, or the day of the winter solstice versus the day of the summer solstice. Um, and you can start to calculate FARs for the neighborhood, for a block, for a plot. You can, for instance, I can say this is a building, but I can actually edit the base to make changes. I can actually say this is a 3-story building, and then give it a use. And I'll start to color code things by zoning. I'm not that concerned about that for us right now. Let's see here. Where are we? This is Fremont. So this would be 5th Street. And right here would be, this is Fremont, and that's Carson, and that's Bridger. And there's that courthouse. And it looks like it actually has something listed here, an old piece of property that's been demolished since then. What's that?
Okay, cool.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking, hopefully. Edit base. I think I have to edit the base. I tried. I tried function delete too, which sometimes. Let me just edit the base. Might just be able to get rid of it here. Now I'm inside of it. There's like a block. Yeah, here we go. Done. All right. So there's the vacant building, the adjacent vacant building. This is that motel and the parking lot in front. And then this is the newly renovated building. Doesn't have the parking ramp that's been new construction built onto the back of this thing. I'm not sure if there really is something back here. I don't think there is, at least not from last time I looked in Google Maps. It's the same thing here. So what we'll need to do is maybe look at, how do I put this? Look at few things. One, we'll take a look at all these different layers that we added and see which one's the most accurate and go off of that. Then we'll need to confirm on-site via on-site Google Map and Google Street View, and begin to delete and adjust and do things like that. Then when we bring this into Rhino, right, we can basically start to put things on different layers if they aren't, or begin to assign layers. Layer management's, I think, huge in this case. And at a certain point, once you have finished your axons, you can start to maybe even start putting them in here. But we'll use this as the base for a set of diagrams that will start maybe as soon as tomorrow, but because I wasn't anticipating having so much more information here. But I would say you actually have some time to clean these things up and then really work on your axon, your planar compositions between now and Tuesday. Let's talk a little bit. Tuesday, what I'd like to do is see everybody's stuff. We do a little bit of review. And then Wednesday, we can meet downtown at the site at 1:45. That works for everybody. Now Wednesday, you're gonna have history. What time does your history class go to? Okay, so it might be a little past 1:45 before everybody gets down to downtown. That's fine. Maybe we just set it for like 2 or 2:15 or something, just to be so we're not waiting around in the sunshine for somebody because the folks coming from history class or something like that. And then Brian, I'll work out with you closer to time. But maybe we can I don't know, maybe the WhatsApp has like a video call or something, and we can sort of keep you involved. Or I guess I have Zoom on my phone. So we can do something that way where we can continue that conversation. You can be our boots. We'll be your boots on the ground, and you can be the guy at the computer that can verify things digitally while we're out on site. Yeah, it's sort of a little CSI Miami thing going on here or something. CSI Las Vegas, actually. All right, so but what you can see is actually I kind of like this, but you can see that there's multiple buildings, like there's things that are stacked and overlapped because I basically loaded like several catalogs of extruded masses. So I'm going to zoom out just a bit here. You can see just how much we got. Holy cow. It's like good portion of downtown, isn't it? Hell yeah, that's pretty sick. Huh? Yeah, all right. So look at that. Like you got I mean, it doesn't quite look like Circa, does it? The Neocropolis or whatever, the big Denny's with the wedding chapel inside is right here. I can always sort of find the massing for that and sort of know where I'm at. Let's see. Is
That
that
was the most that was the most Las Vegas sentence I've ever heard. The big Denny's inside the wedding chapel.
Yeah, the big Denny's inside the wedding chapel, next to
Yeah, of
a
course.
giant zip line called Slotzilla. Yeah. All right. So anyway, yeah, exactly right. Exactly right. I'm just going to go through this really quickly. Contextual data. So we loaded buildings, USA structures, then also a buildings open city model, then a buildings OSM, and a buildings another open city model. Okay. So there's the preview of the open city model. It looks fairly close. Interesting. Cancel. That open buildings model might be what we really want here. Let's see what the buildings OSM looks like. No, pretty similar actually. Yeah, it's just like, right? It's kind of like, what is the difference again? I don't really know. Um, hmm. I wonder if we can just USA structures. Oh, come on. I wish we could just turn on or off. Like, I don't understand why. No, no, no. Oh, don't convert to, I don't know what it's doing. Delete. We'll just delete that library. We can always place it back in. The OSM or this. Let's get rid of this. Let's get rid of this one. Let's see what we have now. All right, I'm pretty confident I like, oh, what and the what? Oh, okay, yeah, here. Let's delete that. Yikes. Can literally convert it into a terrain. What a trashy thing it did. Um, remove duplicate geometries. Oh, we could have just done that. Oh, come on, really? All right. I'm just trying to figure out what all of this other stuff is that I accidentally put in here. Because we have the buildings, but then the roads are like down here and that's clearly not the right thing. I'm trying to figure out why it still has this stuff. And I'm not seeing the roads, which is what I would assume we would see. Site hub. Delete this, delete this. Let's see what happens when I start deleting everything. And we redo this. Oh, come on. Yeah, I just don't know what's going on. Like it just, yeah, it sure didn't. Ay, ay, ay. Leave it to Autodesk to make something I can't figure out. The least intuitive thing ever. Oh, it's this terrain. Add to library, undo. Oh, Jesus. I do not want to get into terrain mode. I have a bad feeling about this, but okay. Let me just try to get out of this and we'll try it again from the beginning, make a new site, and then now we know. We'll just load, we won't load the whole enchilada here. We'll just do a few things at once. Back to Forma home. Please, just take me home. 231 South, Parlor Cortez. Okay. Create new site. South Main Street, South 3rd Street. Like there's a bunch of things in here that don't make any sense. They shouldn't be in here. I don't understand. I'll go ahead and just do this and we'll see what's going on. 231. Boy, the things we do just to we'll see. But it looks like this one's gonna be a little better for us, right? I looks pretty good to me. Confirm map area. I'll let it do its thing. CAD map area would require cleanup. So this will save us some time. You'll get less practice extruding things, but you'll get plenty of practice with that with your planar compositions anyway. So that way you can actually focus on those over the weekend. And you don't have to worry about the site model. So that'll be nice. And we'll all have the same site model. So once we get this working, I can just basically export it, put it on Canvas so you can download it. Okay. We don't have to duplicate efforts. What I think would be nice is if we all had the same exact site file. The goalposts are not moving at all, right? We understand exactly where things are. But we might need to still do some cleanup in Rhino. I don't know. So let's see. Did we use OSM or OpenCity? I can't remember. All right, well, I'm just going to try this first one, OSM roads and OpenCity model. And that's it. Let's see what happens. Might take a minute for the stuff to load here. And I still might need to actually load the buildings. So it looks like we have roads. Okay. Contextual data. Let's preview these OSM buildings. Okay, that looks about what I would expect. Yeah. How do I hit add? Oh, okay, never mind. It's on. I'm going to leave the terrain alone. Not going to touch it. I learned my lesson. Maybe. Delete. And maybe I just won't, I won't touch it. Bad Josh. Stop. All right. So again, I mean, it's making some generalizations. It's taking the footprint, just extruding it up, I think mostly, for whatever better or worse. I'm actually not too fond of these buildings. Seemed like there was a little more complexity to some of them. So let's just try one more thing here. Let's add an extension. Let's look at one of the other ones because it seemed like it had more complete buildings. Let's see. Maybe. Maybe this is the wrong place to do it. Browse contextual data. There we go. Always 16 places away. Heights are approximate building footprints from FEMA for all structures greater than 450 square feet. Let's add the USA structures one. From Oak Ridge National Laboratory. It sounds legit. Yeah, I'm not sure what the difference really is. Looks like some things are taller or shorter. Let me go ahead and delete this one. It doesn't look like it really matters. And then at some point there was a delete redundant geometry. And I wonder if that was back out here. I won't touch terrain. All right, well, I guess not. But I don't know about you guys. I think I'm ready to just sort of bring this into Rhino and I won't screw anything else up. Now we can really take a look and see um, let's see what we have here and how accurate things are. Um, let's see here. Analysis area. Let me go ahead and try to remember how to export out of here, which you think would be quite easy, and yet here I am. Edit base. Let's see. Site automation. Ay, ay, ay. Can I drag and select? And I promise you, I've found ways of exporting. Let's see. Analysis area. This all looks fairly self-explanatory. Here? Where is it? This one? I just brought that up. It literally just looks like settings inside of Forma. Yeah, good question. No. Export, there it is. All right. So you can bring it directly into Revit or you can just export it. Let's export this proposal. And that should give us, I think, an OBJ. Yeah, an OBJ file that's 5.7 megabytes. Not too heavy, honestly. It's going to be a mesh. Let me open this up in Rhino and then we can see what's going on. Maybe I can tilt it, like I said, put the north arrow in, tilt it, and then we can share it across the studio. No, megabytes, 5 megabytes, 5.7 megabytes, not heavy at all.
You said we're doing. Is there a file?
Yeah, we'll talk about that. But what we talked about this morning in class was doing the planar compositions. I don't know, can't remember. I've done something very similar to that as a project in 180 to do axons of. Were you a part of that, or were you the year before when we did wood models? Would you, okay, so you were a year before that. Okay. Which is fine. It means it's not going to be redundant for you. But after we cinch this up, we'll shift gears towards that. I can show you what I showed them. They'll be working on it, and I think that's the way we're going to start the design process, building some digital study models. So if you wanted to follow along with that, you're more than welcome to. But what we're dealing with is going to be a museum all about the phenomenon of solar activity in the area. So it's basically you're not designing exhibit areas. The architecture is the exhibit, right? And how it begins to reveal solar phenomenon, shadows, views, rays, inside is the museum. So this idea that in the desert, we really want just people to be sort of render the invisible visible in some way using the architecture. And it's kind of a silly thing, but in that way, it's like I really just want you guys to focus on responding to that sun in really interesting ways, where sometimes you're letting it in very controlled ways. Other times you're trying to bounce indirect light in for illumination. So we can talk about the sort of environmental responsibilities of building in the desert, as well as celebrating sunlight, daylights, and all that other stuff. I'm going to open up Rhino 8. Remind me if I need to save down a version or two so you can open it up in Rhino 6. It's easy to save down though for me. Like I just save out a down version. I don't think 6 will open. It's not reverse compatible, but I can save down and then you have access to it. Yeah. Well, I'm going to assume that large objects and feet. So I'm going to go ahead and make a new file. And then I'm going to insert or import this OBJ into a new Rhino file. Or maybe, no, maybe not. Maybe I'll just open. So there's a couple of things you can notice here. And when you look at the file pull down, first of all, import and export just about any files. Just about. It's a really good import export go between. And that's what made it really nice between that and its precision for 3D printing. I'm just going to say open. And then I'm going to say supported files. You can see there's lots of different file types here, in addition to the native Rhino file, 3DM. So if I just go to OBJ, and I'm going to go to, let's see, Documents, Home. This is on my Mac side. Downloads, South 231. There we go. All right, and then I'm just going to look at this. Import OBJ groups as object names. Import OBJ as nothing. I'm just going to leave this by default. Map OBJY to Rhino Z. I think I'm going to have to do that. So that way X, Y, and Z are actually true. You can see that it's a mesh. Let's look at it shaded really quickly. Let's look at it rendered really quickly. Not bad. There's our site right there. I'm not sure it really has CAD road information in here. So that's where we might need CAD mappers to bring in that CAD information and overlay it. It doesn't look like it. I tried to do the whole proposal, export it. That's kind of weird because I would expect to see, like if I zoom in, I have center lines for roads, but then it's making offsets for me, and displaying them as such. Let's see. So let's pause there for a minute, right? Like we're gonna have to do some cleanup here. That's fine. I kind of expected that. When we go back to Forma, I just wanted to show you a couple of things. If I try to put you guys in the sort of Forma cluster here, or group, or whatever they call it, there are some tools here that could be useful for your site analysis. Um, let's try wind analysis and see what happens, right? So first it's going to put a perimeter and start to tell you, it's going to start looking at comfort zone. We can start to analyze for direction, right? So we can get a sort of a wind rose. You can understand that on an average over the year, the majority of the wind comes from the northwest, and they're substantial from the southwest, north, northeast. Less so from the east and less from the due west. And that's just simply loading in weather data. So we can begin to generate diagrams with real data to sort of help us do things. And if we start to make massings in here, then we can actually start to see those as well. Like we can actually begin to perform analysis on those as well. We can do microclimate analysis. Now, I'm not quite sure what it needs for that. Okay, yeah, we can change the radius if we wanted to. My guess is that it's going to look at shadows from neighbors, wind blocks, those sorts of things, and then try to make some sort of generalization. I don't know how useful that would actually be. But let's look at sun. Let's look at the sun hours analysis. So we can run this for, let's say, June 21st. Let's see how long it takes it to actually do this.
And where is it getting this information from?
So weather data is free. All the airports collect them. When typically what I do is I have students download the weather files for used to be McCarran. What is it called now? Harry Reid Airport. And there's a website where you can actually find those things. But it basically has latitude and longitude. Then it has like all the sort of weather data that's been aggregated over time. And then these tools are all just about taking those EPW weather files and then letting you aggregate them in different ways. So for instance, I could say, I want just the entire month of June, or I want from June to January, or I want, just the day of June 21st from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. or whatever. Open analysis, let's see what it did here. So you can start to see what the average amount of daylight, sorry, of solar radiation is hitting these masses in June, I guess. Get a little bit of shade in some courtyards, and east faces get less than west faces. South and the tops are getting blasted. And then a lot of the north, some of the north is getting shaded. What's interesting about this, I don't know if you guys pay attention to this, but we're going to a lot. Let me just pull up the annotate tools here really quickly. So if we think about, let's say this is north, right? Let's say that's due west and due east. It's really kind of hard to draw with this, but okay, let's see. Here we go. In plan, let's say on the equinoxes, so that's like when you have 12 hours of daylight, 12 hours between sunrise and sunset, and 12 hours between sunset. Right? In plan, the sun kind of does this. It rises due east and it sets due west. And it gets about midway along the sky, if we think about an azimuth or an altitude. And so it does that as an arc.
That, very, 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 very,
I don't remember. We'll measure it in Rhino. What the grid versus the north-south.
yeah.
Yeah, so I'm just doing north-south relative to the grid. Um, so here, let me just undo that several times, and so I can draw this a little clearer. Yeah, okay. So if we go straight up, the arc through the sky kind of looks like this, right? And then the sun travels along throughout the day, right? In the wintertime, it sort of rises here and sets here, and it gets lower in the sky. And in the summertime, it actually rises in the northeast, sets in the northwest. And so that's why in June, the north faces aren't necessarily always sheltered, right? Shaded, because you get that northwest light towards the sunset, you get that northeast light when the sun rises, and it's really high in the sky. So it's hard to sort of doing overhangs to shade outside can get really tricky, right? Like, the shadows get shorter. They're longer in the winter and shorter in the summertime, as this thing is much higher in the sky. When we open these things up in Revit later, we can actually turn these things on and view them. The solar path usually does this, right? There's like a figure eight across the month and the year and the day, right? Almost looks like a bat hatch pattern or something, bat insulation. But that's kind of what it does. That's just its appearance through our sky. Of course, we're moving in relationship to the sun more than the sun's ever moving in relationship to us, right? But it just appears that way. Like it revolves around us. And for a long time, we thought everything revolved around us, as humans typically tend to do. Um, so let's see. Anyway, it's worth noting that you can begin to generate some of these diagrams if you'd like to sort of see these things. Let's see here. Let me turn off the annotate tools. Okay, there we go. Reclaim this. And you can do things like sunlight, daylight potential analysis. You can do wind analysis like I showed you. You can do shadow studies, area metrics, etc. Right? So this is made to sort of help you make redesign decisions, make massing decisions, solar orientation decisions, the big sort of moves, before you start to then like look at floor plates and find where the core is. Here in Rhino, it looks like I have the sun on. No, maybe not. Arctic? Let's turn it to Arctic. There we go. I love Arctic. Look at that. Now, I mean, call me crazy, but I don't see a whole lot of yeah, this is all just a series of meshes. What a mesh. And so one of the things we're gonna have to do is figure out, well, what do we really want? Maybe turn this, maybe turn that not put that on, turn it, and then put it over there and see what it is. Because it really would be nice to actually have the CAD data for your floor plans and sections as well. I think that's pretty important. So let's just do a few quick checks here. I'm going to turn this back to Arctic. There's Necropolis, whatever that's called. There's Fremont Street. That's Las Vegas Boulevard. Here's our side right here. And let me just double check and see what kind of distance we have here. I'm just going to eyeball this just to see if general, make sure that's giving us feet. It's giving us millimeters. Oh, that's super. 48 millimeters. So it's not the right scale at all. Oh, that's awesome. Oh man. Yay, Forma, you rock. Oh, you're so awesome. All right, let's try this one more time. Let's, yeah, I'm not sure. I thought I said it to, I'm just opening up this OBJ map Y to Z. And I don't see anything saying like, okay, use the same units or, okay. I don't know. I'm just opening up an OBJ that Autodesk generated. Let me do this. Let me just start a new file and I'll insert this thing and import it. I'll say large objects feet. And then let me just import the OBJ and see what scale it's at. Oh boy. Ay, ay, ay. What the crap? Here we go. There we are. Y to Z. Sure. I don't care. Okay, so I loaded this into something that with feet. And let me see if this makes any kind of difference or not. Distance. Theoretically, oops. Let's see, vertex, not, and is there a point? No, there's a point right here. Let's see if I can actually clip that vertex right there and right there. 15.49 feet. Well, clearly that's not right. 11.65 feet. Okay, so this is not the right scale. Huh. Of course. All right. Thank you, Forma. That's so awesome. That said, and it doesn't have any of the CAD data either. Oh my gosh. Oof. All right. Seriously. Let's double check this really quick. See what we have here. What? Oh, stop it. Sorry. This is like melting down. Like this is like, oh, like having to do math in front of everybody all at once is pretty intense. All right, let's see. Here we go. It's right here. So I think we can reasonably assume that would be like 50 feet for our purposes. So hear me out for just a second. If I draw a line in this direction, that's 50 feet. Will it project out? Come on. Project. Oh, I know what I need to do. Here, I'm making this hard. Here, let's do that. Turn off project. Here we go. Click there, say 50 feet. There we go. And I scale all of this from here to that, and it should scale up, and we can double check that here in a second. Let's unselect that line. Okay, so from here to here needs to now be to here. Why do I have so many of these things on? Just make sure there we go. That's the endpoint. All right. Now let's test this. Distance. Let's see, point or vertex. It's vertex. These are meshes, right? 50 feet. All right. $49.8. Okay, yeah. So that should be fairly accurate then. Accurate enough for our purposes. I mean, we really only need that adjacent site to be pretty close to scale. Everything else is just there for background, right?
What
Okay.
function did you use to scale the entire thing?
I just typed in scale.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's just scale. Rotate, move, and scale. They're all just type them in. Copy, same thing, COPY. Type them in the command line. It's a good question. And again, I don't realize sometimes I take these things for granted. So please do ask, speak up and ask, and happy to. But that says artistic. I wanted Arctic. Here we go. Okay. All right. Well. Let's see. Now, what if we brought in the CAD mapper stuff as well? I have a DXF. This will be interesting. Before I go any further, let me save. That's always a good idea. Save early, save often, right? So I'm just gonna go home. I'm just gonna save this to my desktop of all things. I'll call this 7-Eleven site model drafts. Okay. Now let's import this DXF as well. Oh, really? Oh, sorry, I have it set to OBJ, sorry. DXF. All right. I should know better. CAD mapper 6/11/2025. All right. Import reference layers, model units, feet, layout units. I'm just going to say feet. I don't care about that. Fingers crossed. That's at a different scale as well. Okay, great. Well, at least it's consistently screwed, screwing us as we go. All right. All right. Let's see. We have less information in this one, obviously. I'm going to go ahead and get rid of that. And get rid of that, and that, and that. Okay, let me just go to perspective view and see what we have here. Why am I screwing around with all of this? Because we already have all this stuff in the other part. This looks like our site right here. And if I just do this, perpendicular and near. So I just want to snap somewhere along this line and then find the perpendicular, like it's 17.32 feet. That's not correct. All right. When in reality we got, what was it? Was it, I don't remember. Do I still have it up somewhere? I think I closed. We did a Google Earth, the right of way is 80 feet between parcels. to allow for sidewalks and streets, according to the assessor's map, or the assessor's map. We went in Google Earth and confirmed that with some simple, quick distance measuring. But then we went from sidewalk to street. And I don't remember what that number was. So let's go ahead and open up Google Earth again. Isn't this great? Don't you wish they would like just stop screwing around and give us some real tools to deal with this stuff? This is why they hire interns, by the way, architecture firms. Let's see. Here we go. Lake Mead. There's Red Rock Canyon, and let's see here. Let's go. All right. Once again, let's double check this. So that's giving me about 56 feet. All right. That sounds about right. Then we converted that to meters. I wonder if this is giving us the meters, but just interpreting the meters as feet. I don't know. Anyway, we can fix this. So I said 56 feet. Let's go with 56. It sounds kind of roundish. $56 feet. Come on now. In that direction. Sorry, this should be a lot easier. I don't know why it's being stupid. Here, let me just do this. 56 feet.
You said the site was 50 feet.
No. Sorry, let me just finish this. Okay. Like, not sure why it's not snapping exactly, but it's close enough. Yeesh. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to scale this as well to this, and then we'll overlay and make sure things actually look like they align. We'll align it at the site. So if there are any discrepancies, the error will distribute out towards the edge where it doesn't really matter so much. No, so our site should be 50 feet by 140 feet. And then there's a 20 foot, this should be 20 feet according to, I mean, how accurate we want to be is all a matter of point of view here. Scale. Let's scale all of this. Let's,
Turn off.
what's that?
Said I wanted to turn off the view snap. Remove the scale and all that.
Oh yeah, you're absolutely right. Intersect, perpendicular off, point off, vertex off. And scale. Let's unselect the scale line I have here. We still have some massing here that I missed. Oops. What did I do? Oh, well, I won't get rid of it then. At least not yet. Gosh, there's always something. Yeesh. All right. And before I go much further, we haven't talked about layers this morning, but we really should, right? I'm going to go ahead and look at this. Buildings. Parks. outlines. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and lock the default layer, which has the original OBJ on it, before I start to move this over and try to line it up. And let's also look at this. All right, yay. So this is way underneath. I'm going to move it so it's up over top. And it's hard to see the yellow against the white, isn't it? If you guys are curious about changing colors, tools, options, I believe it's here under appearance. There's colors. You can change your viewport background, but object display, that yellow is really hard to see against the white, isn't it? I'll just make something really obnoxious here. Okay, my selection. There we go. I can see against the white a little better. All right. Almost there. You can see even here, because it's using photogrammetry from multiple satellite photos, that it has like the block, but then has the building hanging over the block. Because from the vantage point of the perspective, it's catching this leaning out over the block. You know what I mean? So there's always cleanup involved with these things. So let's just see what happens though when I put that over at the bottom of this. Let's see here. Now let's find vertex again. Let's go into perspective mode. We'll try to snap it to the bottom of this building. Seriously. Why can I find that vertex but not this vertex? Like that's really driving me crazy. Let's put it down here and then I can just move it. It's actually pretty close. Not terrible. Not too bad. Not too bad. We can start to shift things around. I can work with this. Let's move it correctly in elevation and then maybe that'll. What I really want is to be as accurate as possible over here by my site, right? So that's really important. I just don't know why I can't put it right over here where I want to. It's annoying me. Like I actually kind of angry at this. Vertex, come on. Let's turn on point. Let's turn on, let's not turn on that. Here's an idea. Let's make use of the gumball and just move it NZ only. Let's eyeball it for a minute. Okay. Wild. All right. So there's a couple of things I would posit here. One is we might want to get rid of this sort of mesh ground plane and make our own ground planes and blocks. See, this is why I always kind of wonder about how much we want of the mesh. For instance, if I just get rid of that, right? Then what that does is it allows me to take these block outlines, chamfer them, surface them, and extrude them 6 inches down. And then I just make a road layer, right? Does that make sense?
Could you repeat what you said one more
No,
time,
most certainly can, absolutely. So what I did is I've combined the CAD mapper vector data, all these lines and curves, and the mesh of buildings from Forma into the same file, roughly the same scale. Now what I would do is again, make sure that let's make sure this is not locked. What I would do, I erased the sort of crazy weird mesh that was the sort of ground plane from Forma. And so what you can do is you can make your own ground plane by simply looking at these block shapes, adjusting them, moving the buildings around a little bit to sort of gear everything back up, right? So one more thing I'm gonna do is take all of this and rotate it. And let's just make an assumption for now that when we model, we'll model so that Las Vegas Boulevard is north-south, Bridger is east-west. So the first thing I'm gonna do is mark where north is, right? I'm gonna make a vertical line. I'm going to put that on this layer. It's down there. I'm gonna move it up here. I'm gonna name this layer north. And I'm gonna go ahead and lock it. So we can't accidentally screw things up. Well, I'll lock it as soon as I rotate everything, right? So that way we know where north is. Does that make sense? Since we're going to adjust the model so we can model orthogonally. But then at a certain point, what you're going to do is you're going to go in here around your site and actually make these blocks. You're going to double check these, maybe simplify them, maybe make sure that you have a 50 by 140, that you have enough room over here for a road. You would probably fillet these, give them like round off the corners for the curbs, right, for turns. And then you can go ahead and surface and make your own ground planes, right? Your own ground surfaces. So I'll talk about that in just a minute, but let's go ahead and rotate this stuff so that we're working true orthogonals with X and Y rather than the arbitrary downtown grid. So don't worry, Brian. You're not the only one that's looking like, wait, what did he say? I'll explain better here in a few. This is Las Vegas Boulevard. This should be east-west. This should be north-south. So what I'm going to do is say rotate everything. Make sure I have everything selected. Cell all. Center of rotation. And I want to make sure that turn off the O snaps. Disable them. And I'll just turn it orthogonally so that that's running north-south. Looks pretty sick, doesn't it? Like I always love a good model, physical or virtual. So this is what I'm going to give to all of you, right? To sort of start with, where you can see that there's some discrepancies between, like, let's say, the edge of the block and where the edge of the buildings are. So you're going to have to sort of, what I would do first and foremost is go back. Remember the assessor's map, that drawing? One of the things it said, and I'm going to go quickly draw this, annotate this, and I'll take a screen capture of the annotation and include that as well. But remember what it said is that this should be 140. Here, let me draw that better. And then this, the alleyway should be 20. And then this over here, the next plot, wherever that is, should be 140, right? And then we have two parcels here put together should be 50, 25 and 25. This looks like it's probably two parcels for 50. This is a little over one parcel, probably not two, but whatever. So you're going to get rid of this mass, right? That's there, that used to be there, I guess. You're going to double check this stuff and again, make the alignments, right? By simply moving, rotating, redrawing a little bit here and there. And you really have to focus on this corner, the corner, corner, and then this block to sort of clean that stuff up. Once you can establish those blocks, and then, so like for instance, here, let me just take a screenshot of this so that I can, I'll include this later. Okay. In Canvas for you guys. And again, we'll go through this more tomorrow. Like you guys can work on this tomorrow. So if you have any questions, there are any ambiguities, or there's like a value judgment we need to make, a decision we need to make collectively, we can, like tomorrow. So don't worry, don't panic. Okay. But here, let me just quickly get rid of this. Clear drawings, turn off the annotate tools. Now I can move around. What essentially I'm going to end up doing, if I'm you, is I'm going to sort of say, okay, I'm going to do 140 and 20 and another 140. And I understand that that's actually going to be the edge of the new edge of my block. And I'm going to go ahead and arrange this. I'm going to do the same thing here. I'm going to go back to the assessor's map and count how many parcels there's supposed to be, 25 each. I'm going to make this block and just redraw and clean it up without all these sort of stray weird angles that are just slightly off. Then I'm going to use the fillet command and give them a radius, right, as street corners have. And then what I can do is so here's what I would do is think about that pattern, right? We have 25-foot north-south increments for parcels. We have 140 feet, 20 feet of easement for the alleyway, then 140 feet for parcels. Is simply map that out, superimpose over this, start cleaning up, right? Because what you can see is that this is like some sort of weird machine vision tracing of a photograph of a satellite. And so all of these things are slightly off, right? Let's just clean them up. For our own purposes, it'll be much easier that way. Okay, does that make sense? So I keep referring to the assessor's map. Let's go back to that really quickly. Do I have it up here? Yes, I do. So when I click on that parcel, let's see, there's our plot. I can go to links and look at that assessor's information. This goes back to the original plat map book that they had at one point in time, this like big tome you could leaf through. Oh wait, no, that's not it. Well, where is it? Is it the parcel map? I don't think that's it either. Well, this will give us similar information though. Richard. No, actually, kind of like the original. Let's see what happens when we zoom in here. This is Bridger. This is Las Vegas Boulevard. It doesn't give us dimensions. Oh, it does, 25 and 140, right? So that's what I would simply do is say there's going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16 parcels running along the sort of north-south for each block. They're 25 feet each, right? That doesn't necessarily include the sidewalk, right? But it's 25 feet each. And then 140, 20, and 140. So 140 deep, 20 feet of easement for what do you call it? For the alleyway, and then 140 again for the other set of parcels. So I said 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. So 16 times 25 is 400, right? I mean, 4 25s is 100. 16 was 4 fours. So we get 400 feet, right? Yeah. Yeah, I think so, right? 25. Yeah, so these are 140, 280, 300 by 400 feet, right? Then you have the sidewalks around them. And then you have the roadways. So what I recommend doing is between looking at Google, and this is again, like we can go out there. We're not going to go out there till next week. We can always walk things off and double check some things to confirm measurements. Like, but you know, between Google Street View, Google Earth, Google Maps, and the assessor's information, you can. Here's what I would do. Let me just to be very clear here. I would start by drawing the blocks of the parcels. So in this case, let's see, where am I drawing? It's way up here, or way down there, but I would snap to this. Let's see here.
So just
My
a quick
object snaps
question.
off. And I would draw basically a 400-foot line, right? And then a 300-foot line again. And then snap to this. And then I have, oh, I don't know, wait, what it did there. Yeah, what's your question while I'm doing this, Brian?
So the sidewalk would never eat away into the parcel. The sidewalk would
Correct.
eat
So
away
this is
into the.
correct. These are the property lines for the parcels. And then we would have sidewalk. Then after this, we'd have public right of way. So sidewalks, curbs, streets, and then sidewalk curbs on the other side. Yeah,
I
absolutely.
see. So the sidewalk eat into the 80 foot.
Yes, exactly right. Exactly right.
Okay.
So this is what I would do to sort of clean things up. I forgot to sort of close that up, but let's close that. Okay. So once you make a decision on where that's at, then you start to adjust the adjacent blocks around. I'm really only interested in the adjacent blocks, right? To have that CAD info. Okay. Then once you get that, I think you'll notice that some of these buildings probably get pushed back a little bit, right? They can go right up to the edge, but they can't go over. Then what I would do is I would look in Google Earth, Google Maps, Google Street View, make a reasonable assumption on how wide the sidewalks are, and start to draw those. I've said this word called fillet or fillet, right? You fillet something. What that refers to is simply rounding the corners of an intersection of two lines. So rounding that off. I don't recall, I've looked this up before. I honestly, I can't recall the typical default radius for the fillet for a city block in Las Vegas. Is it 8 feet?
Turning. And then.
So yeah, but I'm not sure about the radius just for the fillets. They're not that much. We can try it, but that sounds like a pretty generous. I was thinking
It
more.
says
What's
it
that?
says 10. It says 10 feet.
For the radius?
Yeah.
What says 10? Are you looking it up?
Yeah, it was on the yeah, it says, I think it says the 10
Is that
feet
my
radius.
documentation or are you looking it up on like the city's website or something?
It's on the city website. It's on the
Okay.
municipal code. But this is
Okay.
North Las Vegas, but I'm pretty sure it's the same
Okay.
thing.
10 feet. For some reason I had 8. Okay. So you would go and do that. So that's what this fillet command is. It's right here, fillet. Fillet. So you're like, wait, what? So again, think about this toolbar. We have points. We can make points and we can make curves and we can make surfaces. But we also have a set of tools down here at the end of the curves Once we've made curves, we can begin to modify the curves and do interesting things with them. Things like fillet, chamfer, trim, intersect, extend. We can project them in different ways, etc. Right? So you're like all of these curve tools make curves until we get to this one. We click and hold out. There's all kinds of things we can do to sort of, they're called curve tools, not curve creation, but things we can do with curves once they're made. So fillet is the word that we want to use here. And it's asked for the radius. I can click the radius and say 10. And then I select one side of the corner, another side of the corner, and then it fillets it. I don't know why this is disappearing from my screen, but yeah, it is what it is. 12? All right, you pick whichever one you want, 10 or 12. That's up to you. It probably differs depending on when road improvements were made too. Maybe not. I don't know. But I don't think either of you are wrong. I could easily probably find two different pieces of information depending on where I look. So once I establish that for this block, oh wait, I did actually, sorry. I did this, but I'm encroaching on the property line with the sidewalk, right? So what I would do is offset this, the amount I need for sidewalk. Then I would fill it that, right? That's where you would actually do the filling. How wide do you think the sidewalks are down there?
So it's based off top part. So we have a 10-foot visibility from 10 foot. So,
Okay.
not after, yeah, and so we can tell them and stuff, but the standard is about 12.
Okay. All right. So with that, let's see. Let's look at Google Earth one more time. Let's see if we can make a reasonable assumption. So I'm getting 10 feet, but I don't know how accurate I'm actually being here. It looks like over here they're wider. It's picking up a tree in the thing, and so that's maybe throwing some things off there. Let's So, Jason, do you drive past this site on your way home? Oh, yeah? It looks like we can reasonably assume 10 feet around this block of sidewalk. Let's just say that. So I would type in offset, distance, and then 10. And then I can select this shape and offset it, make another shape that's 10 feet wider on offset. I just typed in offset. But it's right here in the curve tools, right? Like the others, there's offset right there. Where I have an original curve and I can offset it. But offset and fillet, Fillet. Do you like steak? That's how you remember fillet. It's like filet mignon. Yeah. So it'll IntelliSense if you start typing in copy, rotate, move. So if you're get good with your left hand on the keyboard, right hand on the mouse. Yeah. So you'll develop your, so as you can see here, I can start to go around and say, well, actually, no. I'm gonna get rid of that. Gonna get rid of that. Get rid of that, and that, and that, and that. Get rid of these old strange property lines and things like that, right? I'm not actually going to fillet these because you might want to actually be able to snap to corners and project. So I'm going to leave this as is. But this is what I'm going to give you guys. Does that work? So this is your baseline. This is our site right here. And I'm just going to make a 140-foot line. And I'm just going to select that curve and I'm going to move it 25 feet. And I'll make a copy of it. Another 25 feet. There we go.
What's the standard separation between buildings in the city?
Not a clue, but in other cities, you can actually have a party wall and build right up.
Maybe literally, it's pretty fun. So if you're in this, I think you have it's a, it's like a fire. But if you have a certain partition into, it has to be X fire hour. So you can't have a building next to you. You're gonna have at least a 3-hour fire alarm to whatever it is. But the other person is saying you're in low density, you have to come off. So yeah, some locations you find
Right.
offset. It's based off.
Because this is an urban core, you can build pretty close, but you just have to have that fire rating, right? Because you want to minimize, you don't want a fire to spread before a fire department goes in and tries to contain it.
And then there'll be the 6 inch there that. But what'll happen, you know, 3 hour on the side, right there, that's fine.
We'll leave a little gap here.
Next note's 5 centimeters, who's 5 centimeters the neighbor?
Yeah,
Both have to be, and if your wall's stronger than yours, and yours knocks down theirs, it's your fault.
so a couple of things you can, yeah. One thing you can do is start making a copy of this. And then just move this 56 feet, yeah. And you can see just how far off some things were. But we really only needed to finish this, but this block, this block, this block, that block, that block, and this one, right? Oops. I moved instead of copied. That was dumb. Right? And so you're going to do some adjusting, moving some things around, and then getting rid of the trash information here. I don't necessarily need to see all the curbs in a parking lot. You know what I mean? But what I would do is start to clean up buildings so that they're not encroaching on the right of way. I'm just selecting things and then I'm using that gumball again to move.
So like Photoshop appointment and select that.
Yeah. Yeah, by default, yeah. That's what your cursor is by default, unless you're running a command.
I think that,
Could be why we have a discrepancy, right? But I would just say, let's go with this. Honestly, I mean, you know what I mean? I don't want to belabor this. Okay. Pick the battles you want to fight. That's what I say. For our purposes. The other thing to do is to confirm, and we can reconfirm yet again when we're on site. But we can confirm whether or not some of these buildings still exist, right? Some of these are empty, vacant lots. This drives me crazy. I would probably just extend this all the way back around this and then fill it, since it's all one big super block. 2 blocks combined with that federal courthouse, and it's grounds and all the security they put around it. I'm just gonna really quickly go to ghosted. Let's see what we have here, what it looks like. Yeah, okay. So you can see that there's nothing, there's no surfaces for the ground, right? And so that's what we would need to do. Then when we have to block the actual block information, right? Then we can fill that in. It's a planar curve, closed planar curve. We can fill it in with a closed planar or with a planar surface. Then we can extrude it down 6 inches, and then we could just make a super surface underneath that's 6 inches below that for the roadway. Right? But here's the key, right? Fix the blocks a little bit for the blocks around, delete all the stuff you don't need, right? You know, I don't know if I really need the plaza and its parking garage, which it looks like way at the end of Fremont Street over here. It is. We actually have. Wow, we got a lot of downtown in here. This is the plaza at the end of Fremont Street along Main. That's supposed to be the parking garage next door where the Greyhound bus terminal used to be. Now, one thing you'll notice is that I'm drawing up here. Let me move that in place. Let's move everything so that we're on the z=0 plane. Then I'll save this. First, let me save it, but then I'll finally save this. I'll save a version 6 file for you too. And I'll upload these to Canvas so you can download them and use them. Once we do that, you have a choice, right? You can start to pick this up, or you can put this off until the afternoon tomorrow and go back to the planar compositions. We'll pick up planar compositions in the morning time, and then we can pick this up in the afternoon. And tomorrow will be mostly work time. And I'll just be there ready to answer any questions or help fix any problems, individually or collectively. Okay. Alrighty. Tuesday, just as a quick reminder on Canvas, I've made the assignment, so there's a place for you to upload your PDFs. We'll talk more about that in the morning, tomorrow morning, with your planar compositions. Just a few quick things for you to do with those before you publish some JPEGs and put them in a document, PDF it, and send it off. Okay, so but where that's going is after Tuesday, or maybe towards the end of Tuesday, I'll talk about creating some custom display modes where we can adjust the line weights and the render settings. Then we can republish those, bring them into Illustrator. Since they're axons, I have a pack of vectorized scaled figure silhouettes, and we can scale those as well, and then start to place them inside trees and people. And then we can republish them as these sort of quick study models of the sort of planar compositions. So they would look something like probably like let's see where these things are here. But I'm always trying to sort of show you guys what's coming next. Maybe I hope it doesn't like confuse you or anything. I mean, because I could easily see it being kind of confusing. Let's see, global pavilion. No. Oh, I'm in the wrong story directory here. Let's see. Summer 2020. Let's try that. But I mean, we can basically start to publish these things out with line weights and line types, and the soft shadows. So we can start to generate diagrams, right? Okay, between Rhino and Illustrator and Forma. So this is what we'll start doing next week with this, with our stuff, both our planar compositions and with our site models. We can start to then diagram, map, and begin to sort of tell a graphic story about our understandings of our site and place. It'll be awesome. So everything we're doing, we'll just continue to use. Let me show you an example of maybe of these That's not it. I thought maybe it would be. Um, maybe it's in this one. Hopefully, fingers crossed. So there's more, in other words, there's more coming up that's, pretty dope, right? So we can start to add scale figures to these things, trees and other sorts of things, to start to begin to talk about how they might be occupied with humans, talk about a scale, okay? So that'll become after Tuesday, right? Tuesday, you'll show me what you've been up to. We can problem shoot anything further, but then we'll move on. We'll start giving things thickness. We'll start to maybe add some people and some other sort of entourage like trees. I have these silhouettes as a pack. I can give you guys these Illustrator files, and then that'll give us a chance to get into Adobe Illustrator, so we can work back and forth now then between our model file and then producing diagrams. Okay, so just to let you know what's coming. We'll just keep going, just keep moving. Sometimes we can hit the gas and sometimes we have to slow down a little bit, pump the brakes. Let me close this stuff. Let me move this stuff all into the right Z position, and then I'll share it. And thanks for your patience with me. It's always kind of, I mean, I could do this for you guys and ahead of time, but I don't really, I want you guys to see what I'm doing. Not because I think you would remember every last detail, but I mean, there is this sort of crazy sort of like digging around for information. Topo information is even more different, right? You have to find USGS stuff, and then trying to sort of combine these things together, making sure they're in the right units, the right scale, making sure that you're sort of thinking a couple steps ahead to make sure that you're producing a really useful site model that you can build within. I'm trying to save a little bit of time here, because what I want you guys to do is, I don't care that you understand where you download a library and format. I don't care less, right? You can watch a YouTube video and discover that later on. But to get involved with, now I got your file and got most of the things in it. Now you can start to draw, measure, massage a little bit here and there to make this thing really work, okay? Using the similar tools that we talked about, snapping, moving, copying, and then surfacing, right? All right. Like I said, we work on these things incrementally. Okay. If I moved all of this stuff all at the same time, and I found if I just get this close, feels like that would be the right step here. I'm just going to say 0, 0, 0. Put it right there. And now, so there's a couple of things I'm just going to show you really quickly. I don't expect you to remember this, but just so you know what I'm doing. You can see that I was drawing. I'm not sure if it's saying that some things aren't quite planar anyway, but everything's sort of resting on a plane way up here, right? That I was drawing. So I could sit there and try to move it around. I'm not going to bother trying to eyeball that stuff, right? What I'm going to do is I'm going to make a surface at that zero XY plane at that 0 point. It's z equals 0 point. And I'm just going to project those things in Z right onto that plane. Create a new set of planar curves. I can delete the old one, delete that surface, and then we have that stuff nice and plain, right? So this is a nice tool that Rhino has. The other thing I'm going to do is I'm going to lock this north arrow. So this is telling us where true north is, right? And reminding us that when it comes time to monitor the sun, we either have to rotate the sun position where true north is, or we need to rotate our model back, right? So, but I'm just so you remember that. That's that red line is not just something stray. That's the north-south axis for the cardinal directions on the compass. So let's see. I'm going to just quickly create the surface. And by default, that's going to be on the 0, 0, 0 point, right? Oh, yeah. And then in top view, just going to select these because I want to project in Z. So I'm going to look at it in top view. I'm just going to use the project tool here. And select the surface I'm going to project onto. And did you see what happened over here? Projected perfect planar copies of them down onto that surface. Okay. And again, I don't expect you to be like, oh yeah, I can do that now. But just so you know where that came from, that's what I'm doing. Okay. So from here, I would start to make more copies of these blocks, start to clean things up, start to shift the buildings a few feet here and there to make them conform to the blocks. We're not, sending somebody to Mars. So precision to decimal points of accuracy, not that important. This is an academic exercise. Keep that in mind, right? With the battles you want to fight, really, I think you just want to sort of constrain to here's my site, here's the context around approximate heights and right. And it's going to look about right when I have those things turned on and I'm rendering my own building, but I have my neighbors turned on as sort of generic masses in the background, right? And I won't necessarily see, that sort of table problem, that the horizon problem, right? Those neighboring buildings sort of bluff the horizon, so I don't necessarily see the sort of ground plane just sort of falls off the edge when I'm doing renderings and things like that at eye level. All right, so make sense? Clear as mud? All right. Let's save. This is a Rhino file. It's only 2 megabytes. Look at that. I'm going to go ahead and upload this to Canvas for you guys. This will become the base file for our site. Site visit Wednesday. That seems to be the coolest day next week, at least according to. Hey,
Well, that's not been sealed in that.
this is the Bridge Studio. We have one person beaming in from Korea right now over Zoom, and then 4 here with me. Studio without borders. Thanks, Danny. This is Danny Ortega. He's our director, School of Architecture. So he's one of the few people with me that are here in the summertime.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
really kind of a ghost town, most of campus during the summertime. Yeah, take care, huh? Okay, I'll show you guys where I put this in Canvas so you know, and point some other things out for you here. I believe I embedded the video from this morning. Oh, and I need to do that with this one as well. I'm going to stop